Military hardware that can overcome even the most advanced missile defense systems in the world. Those were the words of Vladimir Putin as he unveiled the country's 40 new intercontinental ballistic missiles. Russia's defense minister says the West is provoking an arms race, but the head of NATO dismissed those claims while slamming Russia's actions.
This nuclear saber rattling of Russia is unjustified. It's destabilizing and it's dangerous.
All right, joining me now to talk about this, Republican Congressman Mac Thornberry of Texas, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, which will hold a hearing on the U.S. strategy on ISIS and the Middle East in just an hour. Congressman, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Before we get into today's hearing, I'd like to ask you about Russia. What do you make of Russia adding 40 new intercontinental ballistic missiles to its nuclear stockpile?
Well, I think it's consistent with what Putin has done before. It is to try to escalate and intimidate us from standing up with NATO allies. So I think it's perfectly consistent. The only thing, and Churchill said this back right after World War II, the thing that Russia respects the most is strength, particularly military strength. He has sensed weakness from the West, and he's going to keep pushing and making these intimidating gestures until he sees something different.
Well, here, I'd like to ask you about this, too, because it's just so bizarre. Russia also opened this new military-themed amusement park, complete with grenade launchers for the kids to play on. A second park is reportedly being built in Crimea by a pro-Putin biker gang. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think bizarre is a good word to use for it, but I think it would be a mistake for us to dismiss all of this. Putin has an approach which includes internal propaganda and also propaganda for the neighboring countries. So he is trying to rev up this nationalism, rev up this idea that they are defending the motherland. And that is so they will ignore what the damage that he's doing to their country. So, you know, in some ways it's clever, but I'm not sure how long it'll last. But it does pose a danger to us.
What should the United States do, if anything?
Well, I think number one is our military strength is of the utmost importance. So we are trying to turn around the cuts in the defense budget, and I think that's the most important thing we can do. Shoring up our allies all along Russia's border is very important. They are very nervous, and they're wondering whether NATO and the United States will stand with them. So that reassurance so that we can stand together as an alliance against this sort of aggression, I think, is one of the most useful things we can do.
Okay, on the subject of the hearing today, what's on the agenda?
Mideast strategy. So we've got the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, to come and discuss with us the administration's military strategy for the Middle East. It's not just about ISIS, although that will obviously be a key topic, but it's about how all the pieces fit together with Iran and Syria, the chaos in Yemen, the threats to Israel. All of these things are deteriorating, and it's not up to the Pentagon to fix everything, but they're a key component, and so we want to know how they're going to do that.
Okay, so you want a clear strategy laid out, and when you say put all the pieces together, I think that's what you had in mind.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You know, the president has said he didn't have a complete strategy for defeating ISIS, but that's only one part of what's happening in the Middle East. So our question before the Secretary and the Chairman is give us the military strategy for dealing with this multitude of chaotic situations that are engulfing the Middle East and inevitably us.
Congressman Mac Thornberry, thank you so much. I appreciate you being with me this morning.
Thanks for having me.